2 minutes till broadcast. One minute till broadcast. Thirty seconds till broadcast. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Begin transmission.
Broadcasting from the heart of the nation, the next generation in conservative talk radio. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Oh, yes, it is. What is up, my friends? Welcome into it. It is your pre-Friday celebration. Greatest day of the entire week, man. We have plenty to talk about. There is a lot going on, and I got to admit today, I'm kind of in a feisty mood. There's plenty of things that are frustrating the heck out of me today, and I want to get them off my chest. So as I am your political therapist on a normal basis, today you're therifying me, or we can therify each other. I don't know how it's going to work out, but we'll see how it goes. As usual, welcome into the show. It is The Voice Reason. My name is Andy Hooser, broadcasting out of the heart of the nation in Wichita, Kansas on our flagship radio station, but we are all over the country with so many great radio affiliates doing our thing.
Do it live!
Like we do every single day here on the program. Brittany Modney will be on the show with us. She is with the Economic Policy Innovation Center, also known as EPIC. We'll chat about the recent news in the past week of the national debt officially surpassing $39 trillion. Why are we still seeing the debt grow as we continue to have Republicans that are pushing to curb the federal budget, get things somewhat under control, and steer the ship away? And I know we are, according to them, we are slowly steering the ship away, but yet the debt continues to grow. And again, I know that it's going to take time to transition that away, but we're kind of getting at an existential crisis. I always use the analogy of the Wile E. Coyote in the Roadrunner episodes where he's off the cliff and the body's already fallen and the arm's still up in the air with the sign that says help. Like, the body's already gone. It's already done. We're almost on the brink of that financial disaster, and yet we're just like, we're going to slowly steer the ship and just kind of move things in the slow direction, and it's getting a little frustrating. So we'll talk with Brittany about that coming up at the bottom of the hour. Plus, there's some news going on in state legislative sessions. For those that don't know, your state governments have been working, depending on your state, sometimes it's all year long. Others are just for a few months. Here in Kansas, this is the last week, tomorrow, Friday, being the last day of our legislative session for the state. Many governments at the state level have usually do it for a few months as well, and then they're done and out because of the size or the lack of things they need to work on for an entire year. And there's some concerning bills that I think there's a reason for it, and I think there's a more deeper malicious reason on why we're seeing certain legislation being pushed, and we'll cover that here in just a moment. If you want more information on the show, you can visit us on our website at HooserReason.com. Again, HooserReason.com. Sign up for the newsletter. That'll be coming out not this coming Monday, but the following Monday, first Monday of the month, as we do every single month at HOOSER.com. Before we get to all that, though, headlines out of Washington, D.C. today.
What's trending today?
Where another attempt to reopen up Department of Homeland Security has failed miserably as Democrats voted against it, although we did get one over, so that's good news. I'm assuming probably John Fetterman, but a 54-46 vote in the Senate, not enough of the 60-vote supermajority we need in order to pass the bill to actually reopen up Department of Homeland Security, get funding going, and give TSA workers another paycheck, which means they're going another paycheck without actually getting paid. And the pressure is building as Mike Johnson on the House side kind of lashed out today. It was kind of fun watching him because he was beat red. He was not very happy.
Hill is willing to fund all of the security and safety of the American people. We cannot believe it's come to that, but it has.
If the Senate gets that through the Senate, will you put it on the floor?
We'll have to see. We have to solve the problem, and it's very sad that Democrats are not interested in doing that.
Mr.
Yes.
Speaker, does that mean that you're not in favor of breaking the DHS funding bill apart, just funding TSA, just funding FEMA, having individual votes on each section?
We have never been in favor of breaking the bill up. Why? Because it's one of the 12 separate appropriations bills that is the most basic function of Congress to fund the government. And we did it in a bipartisan, bicameral manner. Remember, the contents of that bill were decided upon earlier by Democrats until they decided to hold the American people hostage in their long lines at the airports and with the safety of everybody on the line to make a political point. It is shameful. There is no way for them to defend this to the American people.
All right, so yeah, he was beat red. It was kind of fun to watch. I mean, you don't see little Mike Johnson get that angry that often, but he was fired up today. He's got the face just raging with frustration, and I think a lot of people feel the same way, especially for you TSA workers. If you're listening to these types of programs wondering what the heck's going on, I feel for you. I pray for you. I'm so sorry you're having to go through what you're doing. We're hearing stories of people having to sell their vehicles just to pay their mortgage or whatever they're doing to survive right now because you're just the everyday American doing your job, going to work and doing your thing. And now Democrats again find a reason to hold up your paycheck and put the suffering and the beatdown on you because of a political agenda. A political agenda that's not doing anything or changing anything in Washington, D.C., and it's really unfortunate. So we go another day without TSA. We go another day without Department of Homeland Security and another paycheck that will be missed, which is really unfortunate. All right, that being said,
What's trending today?
that's all we got on that. They're still working on the negotiations. We'll see what happens beyond that, but that's the latest update on the issue. As we wrap up legislative sessions at the state level, I want to bring some awareness to it, and I know some people are going to roll their eyes. Maybe I'm deviating from the typical standard Republican talking points and line here. I think, at least in my opinion, that it's the conservative stance on these issues, but we'll see. And I really want your thoughts on this. You can send us some messages on our social media and on our website at HooserReason.com. But I'm starting to see a pattern, which is really unfortunate, and a pattern that I'm seeing as a behind-the-scenes retribution campaign from big pharmaceutical industries. And as you know, we have the MAHA movement, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., President Donald Trump trying to make America healthy again, trying to get rid of pesticides and herbicides, kind of, until we sign an executive order for Monsanto to, have any type of protections so no one can come after them, and then trying to build fertilizer here on the home front. And whatever else that we're doing, pesticides, herbicides, glyphosate, all that crap that we're starting to now build on the home front, or else it'll crash the agricultural economy. Like, that's what they tell us. All right. Not very happy about that one. But outside of that, we're still trying to push to limit big pharma. We're still trying to push a limit on this big government oppression of this is how you must make yourself healthy or, take care of yourself, whatever, as opposed to giving you choices. And while we've been pushing back, we knew there was going to be a backlash. And we knew that it was going to be a push of big pharma when you start backing someone like that who's very dangerous, arguably one of the most dangerous industries in the world, and you start trying to go after them, you know there's going to be pushback and backlash on this. And I think we're starting to see it. And they're doing it at statewide levels. Here's what I mean. There's a bill here in Kansas that I know is not just specific to Kansas because, in fact, looking at some of the other states that have done the same thing, we're broadcasting in many of them right now, in Alabama and in Mississippi and in Illinois and some other places. We're broadcasting in the places where you've done the same thing, and that is banning a product called Kratom.
Say what?
Now, I'm curious on why we would ban a product called Kratom. For those that don't know what Kratom is, I'm no expert, although we have had the National Kratom Association or whatever on the program throughout the years, and we'll probably need to get them back on now. Kratom is literally just a plant. I mean, and I don't want to go down the road of the marijuana issue. People have their differing opinions on marijuana, recreational, medical marijuana. That's not what we're talking about here. Kratom is literally a plant. Majoritively comes from, I believe, the Asia area, the region. And it's dried, and there's different factors of what kratom is. Some of them are for pain management. Some of them are for sleep. Some of them are for whatever purpose that you have. Energy, doesn't matter. There's different types. Full disclosure, I don't use it a whole lot. We have some. My wife uses it on occasion. She has lupus. She passes a lot of kidney stones. And when she passes the kidney stones, she takes kratom for a pain management. There's a variant of it called Red Bali that is a pain management one. And she takes that as opposed to the Vicodin or the whatever else pharmaceutical pill that doctors would prescribe her, because those, number one, are extremely addictive, and number two, tear up her stomach horribly. And we don't like taking pharmaceutical pills unless we have to. The worst or the most powerful one I think we take is like an Advil. That's about it. But when we do it naturally, we try to. And Red Bali is a form of kratom that she takes, and it's a powdered plant that's in a capsule form, and you take like 7 of them. And Andy, that's a lot. Well, the 7 equate to like 2 or 3 Advil. That's it. And if you're trying to get high or have some type of effect off of 7 pills like that, you're going to have to take a buttload of those pills because it is so weak. It's not going to work for you. However, here's where the tricky part's coming out. And this is where the education comes into play. You can agree or disagree with me here and let me know. What's happening is that there's concentrated forms of these. And there's a component specifically in kratom called 7-OH. I don't know. It's kind of like THC in marijuana, right? There's a concentrated form where people are taking and extracting that particular compound and making concentrated forms of it. And it's leading to severe addiction, and it's leading to people having health issues, and it's leading to altered states of mind and all this other garbage that's really unhealthy for you. And they're coming out in vape forms, and they're coming out and they're being sold in gas stations. The other regular kratom are sold in other places. But these concentrated forms are being sold in gas stations and other mainstream areas. And then they say, oh, look at us, this 7-OH compound is really bad for you, and there's in vape forms, and they're in liquid forms, and people are taking this stuff. We need to ban kratom. And I don't understand why we can't go after the vape concentrated form, but leave the natural stuff the hell alone. I don't understand. But it clicked, and the light bulb came on when I started to realize that the reason we're going after all of it as opposed to just the one specific thing that's bad is because this is how Big Pharma was going to respond. This is the backlash, as we're trying to limit their power. When the average American's on 6 pharmaceutical pills, when the average American is addicted and dedicated to Big Pharma with the vaccines, the annual flu shots, and all the pills that we take, and all the pain pills, and all this other garbage, and all the mental health stuff, and the antidepressants, whatever else, when they realize that there's other options out there, they're not banning them at the federal level because it's been very difficult. What they're doing is they're banning them at statewide levels. Right now, Candace is looking at a bill, and what they've done is they've actually tried to slip it into a different bill that's completely unrelated. Tomorrow being the last day of the session, slip it into something they know people are going to vote for, and that way it gets through and they get done what they want to. Alabama has a full ban on kratom statewide right now, along with Arkansas, Connecticut, Indiana, Louisiana, Rhode Island, Vermont, and Wisconsin. Other states that include California, Colorado, Florida, Illinois, Mississippi, and Oregon. It's legal in the state, but they do have other local bans in different counties or communities around the state. And I ask you the simple question of why. Why do we continue to ban natural products, but then we're like, Big Pharma's totally fine? It's really limiting the other options that people have. And I use my wife for an example. As someone who does not like to take Vicodin or these other extremely powerful pain meds that pharmaceuticals and doctors give you, and she wants to do something different that's not as mind-altering, makes you go to sleep, tears up your stomach, why would you ban something like that? Oh, yeah, because now we want to limit the options to where the only option out there are those products. And that's the end goal. And we're starting to realize, I think, that that is the plan at the end of the day. Donald Trump and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. have addressed some of these in general, they passed, and this was a few weeks ago, the Great American Recovery Initiative, where they're trying to help with addiction issues in the nation, where they tried to address some of these products, but realized at the end of the day, if you want to find a way to get addicted or get high on something, you're going to find a way to do it.
Drugs entering our country by sea are down 97%. So when you see the boats being hit, those boats kill on average 25,000 people a boat. So that's 25,000, I would assume mostly American lives, but lives are being saved. Now we're taking a bold action to help Americans struggling with all forms of addiction so they can get the help and the support that they need to free themselves from the horrible burden of dependency.
All right, so here's my message to not only legislators in Kansas, who I know most of them here in Kansas, but legislators, activists around the rest of the country. Can we go after the stuff that's really bad with the concentrated forms and leave the rest of the stuff alone? Why are we lumping it all in together? Because it really shows, number one, our ignorance, but number two, it's really giving all the power to the groups that we're trying to take power away from.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
When America builds, the world follows. Our energy powered the 20th century. We've set the standard for generations, and we never waited for permission. But now, we're being held back. Outdated rules, endless delays. Without permitting reform, Washington's red tape is slowing us down while other nations race ahead. It doesn't have to be this way. We can clear the way for energy that's affordable, reliable, and built right here. Because what's built here is felt here. Lower costs, more jobs, stronger communities. That's what permitting reform makes possible. Energy didn't just shape our country, it powered the American dream. And with our innovation, we can lead the 21st century. Congress has a choice. Build America's energy future or risk falling behind. Tell Congress, pass permitting reform now.
Hey, did you know that you can have multiple different networks on one single smartphone? Well, with Patriot Mobile, you can. It's time for you to sign up for the Patriot Mobile primary phone plan with plans as low as $15 a month, where you can have 2 numbers and 2 networks on one single phone. And right now, if you sign up using the promo code REASON, you can get an entire month absolutely free. It's the Patriot Mobile One plan. 1 phone, 2 numbers, and 2 networks. And it's all at patriotmobile.com/reason. Again, patriotmobile.com, and use the promo code REASON. As you know, I'm always looking for a good snack, but it's hard to find good quality snacks without all the unhealthy additives. But now that problem is over. It's time to enjoy J&S Smoked Snacks. Real cuts of beef, real wood smoke, and real flavor that's crafted in small batches to keep every bag fresh. I promise you'll be addicted. And with numerous different flavors, you'll never get enough. This is not your average gas station jerky. It's J&S Smoked Snacks. Find them online at jssmokedsnacks.com and tell them I sent you.
What fuels the freedom to dream bigger? How did 2 guys in a cramped California garage reimagine the phone and put the power of the universe at our fingertips? At Americans for Prosperity, we believe greatness can happen anywhere. We just need freedom and the opportunity to make it real. But today, with a rigid system stifling progress, limiting creativity, and holding us back. That's why at AFP, we offer solutions that tackle the most critical challenges facing our country, so there's nothing standing in the way of America's next breakthrough. Because what we build today doesn't just shape the future, it defines it. How will you be defined? Take your first step today with Americans for Prosperity.
When you choose Patriot Mobile, you're not just picking a wireless provider. You're choosing a company that shares your values. It's easy to switch, and you can keep your number, your phone, and most importantly, your values. With Patriot Mobile, you get the power of nationwide coverage on all 3 major networks. That means wherever life takes you, we've got you covered on the same reliable networks you already know and trust. And when you need us, we're here for you right here at home. Our customer service is 100% US-based because we believe that support should come from people who understand you and your values. At Patriot Mobile, you're not just another call, you're a priority. In today's world, where you spend your money matters more than ever. Every dollar is a vote for the kind of future you want to build. Join the thousands of Americans making a difference with every call, every text, and every connection. Choose a company that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
Switch today and get 1 month of service absolutely free by going to patriotmobile.com/reason.
When reason meets radio. This is the voice of reason with Andy Hooser.
All right, welcome back into the program. There you go. Does that make sense? What we just talked about, I can hear the rumblings through the airwaves. People angry at me on that one. It's okay. You know what? We're allowed to have differing opinions. If you disagree on that one, totally fine. But I am curious on why we lump everything in because of one bad product that's out there that is harming people. And look, these concentrated forms. And I wasn't around, obviously, in the 70s and 80s. I was born late 80s. I'm still a millennial, but those of you that went through the 70s and 80s, the marijuana, for example, of your time is completely different from the marijuana of our time because it is so concentrated now, and they've upped the THC levels, and they've made these concentrate vapes and these liquids and these gummy bears and all that stuff that is really, really strong. And you want to talk about mental health issues and the altered states of mind there, like that is going to give you brain damage at some point with how strong these things are. I don't do any of that. I don't do drugs. I have no interest in any of them, so I can't speak by experience on those. But what I can say is the levels and the concentrates are so strong. Let's address that. Same thing with the kratom, this 7-OH. If it's a really bad thing that's addictive and causing harm, whatever, these concentrated forms, let's discuss those. But the basic natural marijuana plant that grows in your backyard or the kratom plant that you dry out and grind up and put it into a pill form, that stuff's harmless. It's not bad, and we need to stop trying to lump all of it together and do it all in one big push because it's only empowering the ones that we say we want to disempower. And then at the same time, just a little bit, and I'm not saying this is this case for all those issues, because if you're taking some really strong stuff, including things like Vicodin or whatever other pain meds that pharmaceuticals give you, that they can become extremely addictive. But then we get really dumb people that like to play the system and play the victim just because they can. Did you see the report? This one, where was this from? Headline, woman awarded $6 million after suing Instagram and suing YouTube for social media addictions.
Say what?
I know. I have a hard time here because I get it. The whole purpose of a social media is to try to get you to scroll as much as possible, to view as much content as possible, to collect your data as much as possible. That's the entire format. That's the way it's designed. At the same time, to think that you're so addicted that you have to open up your phone and scroll to the particular app and open it and not be able to leave, are we almost taking away the personal responsibility in just a little fashion? Just a little fashion. And I know that's completely different from drugs and things that you actually consume, but that's kind of the level that we're at in society, where we're looking for any type of lawsuit we possibly can get. And then, of course, we sue social media and awarded $6 million. What kind of precedent does that set for, this is, by the way, a 20-year-old. So it's not like a 6-year-old that got addicted that can't turn away from it because the parents didn't take the screen away from their child. It's not an adult who has a long-term addiction ability. This is a 20-year-old. Probably some attempted Instagram model or some type of social media influencer or something, but she's been awarded $6 million after suing these individuals. It's wild. And we need to address the addiction problem in the country. President Trump, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., they're dealing with that. We've been able to decrease the amount of bad drugs coming into this country, and any of the drugs that we do have, whether it's grown marijuana, with many states that have legalized it in some fashion, it's been grown on farms here in the U.S. to where we know exactly what's in it, not being imported by cartels or people with fentanyl problems, right?
We're 98% down drugs coming in by water, by the ocean, by the sea. 98%. And we're trying to find out who are the 2% because we think they're the bravest men anywhere in the world. Maybe women. But whoever's on those boats is very brave or doesn't watch television.
Well done. Well done. We always love the sarcasm and humor from President Donald Trump. As conservatives, we believe in limited government. We believe in allowing people to make their own choices. We believe that as long as you're not infringing upon anybody else or harming anybody else, for the most part, you can do whatever the heck that you want to do. And I think that Republicans in general, conservatives, have been dead wrong on these issues for a while, and if we're going to start winning over the young generation, we're going to have to start adapting our views on these issues and stop doing this fear-mongering and this hysteria and this ongoing moral control that they try to push through government because it just doesn't work.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Miss any part of the show? Well, don't worry. Now's your chance to go find the podcast and listen to as much of the Voice of Reason as you'd like. As the show continues to grow all across the nation with great radio affiliates, we also continue to grow as one of the top conservative podcasts, ranked 5th on the MillionPodcast.com Best 50 Conservative Leadership Podcasts in the nation, and number 1 on FeedSpot.com's 30 Best Conservative Talk Shows in the country. The show continues to grow each and every day. Just find us on any of your favorite podcasting sites at The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser. Want to reach out to the show? A big part of the program is you, and we want to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts of the show, maybe a guest we've had on the program, or my favorite, when you disagree with something that I talk about. You can email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or send us a message through our website at HooserReason.com. The show's not about me, it's about you. So be heard and be your own voice of reason. Again, email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or find our contact information at HooserReason.com.
truth, reason, and common sense. This is the voice of reason with Andy Hooser.
All right, welcome back into the program. Great to have you today for a pre-Friday celebration. Moving right on through. I look forward to your angry emails and social media posts after the conversation that we've been having. I know, very controversial. But look, I think that it's healthy for us to have a conversation this way. I think it's great for us to maybe think about things slightly differently, which is what we try to do on this program, give you a different perspective on some of these issues. And you can agree with me, disagree with me, totally fine on that front. We'll get back to some of that here in just a bit. Many of the state legislative bodies are wrapping up around the country for their sessions for 2026. And are we promoting conservative, limited government principles and allowing ourselves with the opportunity we have with the Trump administration to really allow a state to thrive the best it can? Or, as the federal government's moving in one direction, are we slipping back into a different direction at a statewide level under the concept of federalism and states being able to have the majority of their power and control at the local level? We'll get back to some of that a little bit later. But as you know,
what's trending today?
There was a headline, a week or so ago, that we have officially hit $39 trillion as a national debt.
Say what?
That's a lot of money, and we're on the trajectory to hit that $40 trillion here soon. In fact, in a 10-year period or 15-year period or whatever it is, we're close to anticipating near $90+ trillion in a national debt. Why? And what can we do to stop that? Happy to have on the program as we go to our...
Let's go to the Hooser Media Hotline.
Always great to chat with her on these issues and so much more. She's with the Economic Policy Innovation Center. Happy to have back on the program Brittany Modney. Brittany, how are you, my friend?
Hey, Andy, good to be here. I'd be a lot better, though, if we weren't $39 trillion in debt.
Yeah, that one hurts. I mean, every time we see these news headlines of 36 and 37 and 38, now 39, when we hit 40, there's a whole, emotional difference to it. And I know these numbers are so big we can't really comprehend them, but when we hear that it continues to grow, you just scratch your head and say, wait a second, I thought we were doing something to try to address this.
Well, quite frankly, they're not being addressed.
Yeah.
So you said it's kind of hard to even imagine, what do these numbers mean? They're so big, they don't mean anything anymore. So at Epic, what we did is we broke it down because, of course, debt, the national debt, is nothing other than what a individual taxpayer owes. And that doesn't mean that you should owe it. It just means that at some point the government's going to collect in one way or another. So if you look at it by household, our national debt impact is $289,000 per household. And then on top of that, you've got unfunded liabilities in Social Security and Medicare. So just to make those two programs whole, it would take another $578,000 per household. And then, of course, because we don't do anything the right way, and we're doing all of this by raising our debt service, we would have another $7,700 in interest on top of that. That totals $875,000 per household. $875,000 per household. I don't know a household who has that excess cash that's willing to hand it over to the tax man. Do you?
No, I don't. And at the same time, I don't know many individuals that receive that amount of benefits from the government throughout their lifetime in any fashion, with retirement, Medicare, Medicaid, whatever it is. No one receives that amount of benefits either. So it seems like we're a bit lopsided right now.
Oh, heck yeah. That's exactly the point that you should be thinking about and that all your listeners should be thinking about. It's not just that this money is going to the government. The government is wasting your money on things that aren't your priorities. You're not getting this back. All this debt is doing is raising interest rates, dragging economic growth, and putting upward pressure on key sectors. It's inflationary.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. Now, when we talk to individuals that are on the budgetary process and talk about deregulation, talk about cutting taxes, talk about trying to grow the economy and cut spending, whatever, they talk about slowly shifting and moving the ship a different direction and starting to turn it around. At what point, I like to use the analogy of kind of the Wile E. Coyote here, trying to chase after the Roadrunner, and we go off the cliff, and the body is already fallen halfway down the valley, but the arm is still up with the sign that says help. We're already off the cliff. We're already halfway down. We're falling right now while we continue to beg for help. At what point do we say we can't slowly steer the ship away any longer to a different direction, but we have to put a full-on stop and actually hit the reset button?
I hate to break it to you, Andy, we're kind of already there. We're at the point right now that in 6 years, in 2032, there will be an automatic cut to Social Security benefits.
Yeah.
Grandma is getting a smaller Social Security check It's, I think, about 73% that she'll be getting of her benefits automatically if we do nothing. Now, unless you want your Social Security check to be significantly reduced, we have to make reforms to that program today. This is not a next year problem. This is not a next term problem. This is a right now problem.
What do those reforms look like? I mean, you and I as millennials, we're more than likely not going to see a whole lot of that Social Security if things are the way they are right now. So what do those reforms need to look like?
Well, there's a series of things that we need to do, right? So I'll start with the bigger stuff. Right now, anytime we have extra emergency spending, like potentially an added defense package for the situation in Iran, you got to offset it. Stop making the problem worse. Step one, stop making the problem worse. If you need more money for some serious emergency, okay, that's fine. That's a choice that members of Congress can make. But you know what? They need to decide where things are no longer a priority, just like any household budget, right? If you have a flat tire and you got to get it replaced, you got to go to the dealership or the body shop, okay, well, guess what? That means that if you didn't have any savings in the bank, you're probably not going to be able to go out for dinner this week.
Right.
That's just a situation that we all have to accept as reality. So that's step one.
Yeah. It's really unfortunate. We're talking with Brittany Modney with the Economic Policy Innovation Center. The Trump administration has really touted the deregulation move, and for every one new regulation, we're cutting 10 or we're cutting 100 out there, which can kind of help a little bit on both ends because the deregulation allows less red tape for the private sector to grow better, and at the same time, it's less of the bureaucracy to actually have to be funded to enforce said regulation. So it does help kind of killing two birds with one stone. Does that have an impact on the debt that we have, the ongoing growing of government spending, if we're not having to enforce regulation and at the same time allow the private sector to grow a little bit better?
Yeah, listen, that's important. We have to do that. The Trump administration is doing a phenomenal job of deregulating. And it's a good reminder that every dollar that the government spends is actually being used against you in some way, right? Like, why are we having more federal spending? Because we have more federal programs, we have more bureaucrats, and that's where your money is going, right? So when you reduce that, it's certainly going to have a positive impact on the private sector, on economic growth, and on spending, right? But at the same time that the Trump administration is doing all of this incredible deregulation, Congress has to defund the bureaucrats who would be making those regulations. We're not seeing that correlation. So you have to tie the two things together. You can do all the deregulation you want, and that's great on the economic growth side, but you still have to stop the spending.
Yeah. That would make a lot of sense. We're now, 5-6 months into the federal budget for this fiscal year, and we still are lingering with one portion of it with the Department of Homeland Security that's not funded with the appropriations process. So we're already 5 or 6 months behind when the deadline was to actually pass a budget. Now we're probably 5 or 6 months behind on actually starting the budgetary process for this coming year. Are we any closer to actually getting our government back on track to get a federal budget done before the deadline, which is the end of September when the new fiscal year hits?
Look, I wouldn't make any bets on this, but what we have learned is that if you present folks in D.C. with a series of options, they'll always pick the worst one.
Yes.
Now, at Epic, what we're trying to do is give them the information to make better budgeting choices and actually respect taxpayers. So I talked to you about emergency spending. We also need to talk about approach, right? If you want to improve the fiscal situation of this country, you have to hold the line on appropriation.
Right.
Don't let bad policy writers in. Don't cave in to the Democrats when they make outrageous demands in order to just get TSA funded, things that are actually priorities.
Yeah.
And just say, hey, man, no, we're not playing these games anymore. If that means that we're canceling our recess and we're not going home for Easter, unfortunate, but that's the way it has to be.
Right.
And so maybe start dealing with the conservatives within our own side to figure out what do we need to get done And then once we get consensus there, then go to the Democrats. Don't start by negotiating with the folks who want to spend more.
Yeah, that would be a really great point. Brittany, we got just about a minute or two left as we wrap things up. But right now, Democrats are pushing with the DHS funding to go line by line on ICE funding along with other parts of the agency and want to do a line-by-line budget, which I say if you want to go down that road, be very careful what you wish for, because that's probably what we need to do with every bit of the appropriations process and every bit of government funding. And I know that would take a while, but we should probably just put the spending on a 2-year, I don't know, autopilot while we go line by line on everything, shouldn't we?
I don't know about a 2-year autopilot situation. I am of the opinion that Congress should be regularly looking at every dollar going out the door. I don't want to give them any excuses not to do that. But yeah, I mean, hey, if we're going to look at every single line of the federal budget, then let's look at every single line of the federal budget. I've got plenty of ideas for them to cut. If they want to have a challenge on ICE, well, how about the $1 million the Department of Veterans Affairs just spent on getting ferrets drunk for a quote-unquote research project instead of actually doing their jobs and helping veterans deal with the mental health crisis? What we're doing right now is obscene.
Yeah, I always enjoy, and Senator James Lankford out of Oklahoma, Senator Rand Paul do a really good job of coming out with some of the most absurd spending projects that we have year by year. And I wish we would take them more seriously because some of them are absolutely insane, and we got to get back on track. It is Brittany Modney with the Economic Policy Innovation Center. Go and check out EPIC and all the great work that they do trying to help get this budget back on track. Brittany, thanks again. We always love having you on the show. Got to do it again soon.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me, Andy.
You bet. Appreciate it very much. Again, Brittany Modney with the Economic Policy Innovation Center. Always enjoy the chat with her as we work towards hopefully not seeing a $40 trillion national debt. We cannot continue to slowly steer the ship in a different direction. We have to do some pretty immediate things here right now. And don't know if I'm very optimistic in actually seeing that happen, but that doesn't mean we don't stop trying. We got one segment left. We'll get some of your thoughts on this stuff. Plus, CPAC is officially underway, this time in Houston, Texas. What's that look like? And Donald Trump holding another cabinet meeting. Stay right here for the Voice of Reason.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
When you choose Patriot Mobile, you're not just picking a wireless provider. You're choosing a company that shares your values. It's easy to switch, and you can keep your number, your phone, and most importantly, your values. With Patriot Mobile, you get the power of nationwide coverage on all 3 major networks. That means wherever life takes you, we've got you covered on the same reliable networks you already know and trust. And when you need us, we're here for you right here at home. Our customer service is 100% US-based because we believe that support should come from people who understand you and your values. At Patriot Mobile, you're not just another call, you're a priority. In today's world, where you spend your money matters more than ever, every dollar is a vote for the kind of future you want to build. Join the thousands of Americans making a difference with every call, every text, and every connection. Choose a company that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
Switch today and get 1 month of service absolutely free by going to patriotmobile.com/reason. Hey, it's Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason. Fighting for conservative principles seems more difficult all the time. The progressive left finds new and creative ways to limit freedom, abuse power, and trample the Constitution each and every day. That's why we need the knowledge, resources, and common sense to push back. And that's where we can help. Head to our website at HooserReason.com. There you can find our latest blog discussing topical issues of the day. Let us know your thoughts on current events with different surveys and chat rooms. And keep track of what I might be doing or where I may be speaking. Plus, when you head to the website, you can always get great deals and different offers from all of our great radio partners. Finally, if you want more of the show, you can find our podcasts with all of our great episodes and your favorite guests. And make sure to check out the latest Voice of Reason infomercials and maybe some other special content. And it's all because of you being part of the Hoosier-holic family. Let's continue to fight for conservative common sense principles together by going to HooserReason.com. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do.
What fuels the freedom to dream bigger? How did 2 guys in a cramped California garage reimagine the phone and put the power of the universe at our fingertips? At Americans for Prosperity, we believe greatness can happen anywhere. We just need freedom and the opportunity to make it real. But today, with a rigid system stifling progress, limiting creativity, and holding us back, That's why at AFP, we offer solutions that tackle the most critical challenges facing our country. So there's nothing standing in the way of America's next breakthrough. Because what we build today doesn't just shape the future, it defines it. How will you be defined? Take your first step today with Americans for Prosperity.
When you choose Patriot Mobile, you're not just picking a wireless provider. You're choosing a company that shares your values. It's easy to switch, and you can keep your number, your phone, and most importantly, your values. With Patriot Mobile, you get the power of nationwide coverage on all 3 major networks. That means wherever life takes you, we've got you covered on the same reliable networks you already know and trust. And when you need us, we're here for you right here at home. Our customer service is 100% US-based because we believe that support should come from people who understand you and your values. At Patriot Mobile, you're not just another call, you're a priority. In today's world, where you spend your money matters more than ever, every dollar is a vote for the kind of future you want to build. Join the thousands of Americans making a difference with every call, every text, and every connection. Choose a company that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
Switch today and get 1 month of service absolutely free by going to patriotmobile.com/reason.
This is Gordon Deal. Friday on This Morning, America's First News. You may have heard about following the money during a war. Hear how many companies have registered to lobby the federal government lately. Also, the number of factors driving up the number of millionaires and billionaires in the U.S. and how these groups are changing the economy. And why planning for retirement can be a brutal math test. Friday on This Morning, America's First News.
Weekdays 6 to 8 a.m. right here on Wichita's Big Talker, KQAM.
America's safe space for common sense. This is the voice of reason with Andy Hooser.
We're a party of common sense. The Democrats are a party of insanity. They're a party that will destroy our country. If I didn't win this election, I believe our country would have been destroyed by now. 1 year, that's all it would have taken. If you had Kamala or Sleepy Joe, either one, it wouldn't have mattered. They're the same thing. 2 sleepy people, 2 stupid people. I believe, and by the way, Gavin Newsom, who is one of the candidates, I believe he took himself out of the running when he says he suffers from mental disability.
Yeah, so President Donald Trump, during the cabinet meeting today, going after Gavin Newsom, going after the Democrat Party, which is kind of funny. And there is some news that is just breaking that we'll get to in a minute regarding the Democrat Party and sleepy Joe Biden. We'll touch on that in just a minute. First, I want to tell you about my friends over at Americans for Prosperity. As we talk about policy coming out of the Trump administration and Republicans in Congress, we need to put some pressure on them. They're supposed to be at some point dealing with the healthcare reform in the nation and have a healthcare replacement bill. And by replacement, we mean getting rid of Obamacare, not keeping it around like an old pet, not trying to keep government options available, but actually go towards a private sector option, which is going to lower the prices, it's going to raise the quality, and it's going to make healthcare a heck of a lot better. We need to get rid of Obamacare, and we have to do it right now. We need better options, better choices, and that's why I want you to go to a website at personaloption.com, personaloption.com, or we can fight for better options for yourself, your household, your business, whatever it is. Let's create better options for healthcare in the market with Americans for Prosperity as we look at healthcare reforms in the nation and do it with our friends right now at Americans for Prosperity. All right, we have some breaking news as we talk about sleepy Joe Biden and the Democrat Party right now.
What's trending today?
This one's from the social media post of David Harris Jr., which if you don't follow him, highly recommend. He's got some really great content. I enjoy some of the stuff he posts on social media. However, there's a new report that's been released. Department of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard has discovered, DNI Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, discovering that U.S. intelligence has intercepted Ukrainian government plans that were to root hundreds of millions of dollars of American taxpayer dollars to boost the 2024 presidential campaign of Joe Biden over President Donald Trump. According to Gabbard, they say this is now directing the U.S. Agency for International Development to verify if the, quote, plot was actually carried out or not. That money, by the way, all the hundreds of millions of dollars we've been sending over to Ukraine because we're fighting against the evil regime of Russia. Like, that's been the argument. We just have to give them the blank check, give them everything that we need over in Ukraine. And we've been questioning that for a while. But apparently some of that money, some of it as in hundreds of millions of dollars, was going to be redirected through Ukraine back into the campaign for Joe Biden in order to try and beat Donald Trump. They say that that money was originally earmarked for clean energy usage in the nation of Ukraine. Now, there's a couple things wrong with that, right? First and foremost, that kind of makes sense why Ukraine was so desperate to get all the money they can, because they knew it was going to start siphoning down under President Donald Trump, which I don't know. We haven't talked about that in a while. Are we still sending a buttload of money to Ukraine? Probably, to the sum of what we know. I really don't know how much it is. But even if we were, I thought it was to fight a conflict. I thought it was to fight a war to go after by giving them missiles or giving them, I don't know, ammunition or giving them guns or whatever. But why were we earmarking money to go to Ukraine during that conflict for green energy and clean energy? Well, I mean, if you want clean energy investments in your nation, you can probably do that yourself. Why are we doing it through the United States and then saying that, well, it's for a conflict? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And then that, in air quotes, clean energy investment was turned around and apparently, supposedly, allegedly being invested into the Joe Biden administration in 2024 for the campaign to beat Donald Trump. Now, the U.S. Agency for International Development is now verifying if that actually was carried out. If it was, there's going to be some heads to roll. But, of course, what are we going to hear from the other side of the aisle? Democrats, it's a conspiracy. It's not really true. Or maybe in the great famous words of Hillary Clinton, at what point does it really matter? He lost anyway, so why would you have to investigate it now? Just like Arctic Frost, where they got caught with their hand in the cookie jar. Oopsies, we weren't allowed to be doing that and surveilling Republicans. Now it's going to be, oopsies, well, you know, it was our money in the first place. We just gave it to them to look at. It was beautiful and green, and their bank account looked really nice, and we were trying to help out with this conflict, and then they just wanted to help out Joe Biden because Joe Biden was such a friend to them. They openly and graciously wanted to donate and contribute to his campaign. It is the rhetoric that I'm sure that we're going to hear about. Golly, if you don't get a chance, go check out the website with CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Conference, that convention going on right now all throughout the weekend. We may tune into that tomorrow for a Friday and get some updates. But until then, this is The Voice of Reason. I'm Andy Hooser. We'll see you back on the radio here soon. Bye.
For too long, Washington has said no to builders, workers, and American families, and yes to bureaucracy, delay, and special interests. Let's flip that. Say yes to building more housing, and no to government mandates that block it. Yes to permitting American energy, and no to endless red tape. Yes to putting patients in charge of healthcare, and no to letting insurance companies call the shots. Higher costs? No. An affordable America? Yes.